I speak to you as the day exhales, and the weight you carried begins to surface in the quiet. I hear the questions you never spoke aloud and the concerns you pushed aside just to make it through. I am not distant from your stress, nor unaware of what presses on your heart tonight. When you call out, I answer. When you lie down, I give peace that the noise of the world cannot manufacture. Release what troubles you, because I am the one who enlarges you in distress and settles you in rest. Be still now, and let your heart in again what it means to sleep without fear. When you cry out from a burdened heart, I do not delay in listening. I hear the urgency beneath your words and the exhaustion beneath your strength. I know when pressure has narrowed your thinking and when worry has crowded your inner space. I am the one who creates room where distress has confined you. I do not merely hear you, I respond by enlarging your heart so peace can return. Distress compresses the soul, but my answer expands it. I see how anxiety builds throughout the day. It accumulates quietly through responsibilities, disappointments, unspoken fears, and expectations you feel compelled to meet. By nightfall, your body is tired but your mind remains alert, replaying moments and rehearsing outcomes. That is why I invite you to call on me. Not because I am unaware, but because calling draws you out of isolation and back into relationship. When you speak to me, you are not announcing your weakness, you are acknowledging where strength truly comes from. I do not shame you for feeling overwhelmed. I do not dismiss your concerns as small or insignificant. I understand how deeply they affect you. When you bring them to me, I do not simply remove them. I transform how they sit within you. Peace is not always the absence of problems but the presence of assurance. When I answer you, I replace panic with perspective and urgency with calm. I know how distress distorts reality. It convinces you that everything depends on your effort, your vigilance, your ability to foresee what comes next. Yet I remind you that you are not the source of your own security. When you turn to me, you release the burden of self-sufficiency. I answer by reminding your soul that it is not alone, not unsupported, not forgotten. I see how anxiety tightens your body, shoulders tense, breathing becomes shallow, thoughts race. When you allow me to answer you, your body begins to respond as well. Breath deepens, muscles release, your nervous system recognizes safety. This is not imaginary. This is restoration unfolding through trust. I do not answer you with noise. I answer with peace. Peace settles gently, not forcefully. It does not demand that you understand everything. It simply assures you that you are held. When distress has made your inner world feel cramped, my peace stretches it open again. You feel room to breathe, room to rest, room to release. I know how often you try to reason your way out of anxiety. You search for explanations, solutions, and guarantees. Yet peace does not come from solving everything. It comes from trusting someone. When you bring your distress to me, you stop carrying questions alone. My answer is not always immediate clarity, but it is always presence. I watch how the night magnifies unresolved emotion. What felt manageable during the day grows heavier in silence. That is why I meet you here. I do not wait until morning. I answer you in the night, when distractions fade and honesty rises. I replace restlessness with reassurance. I know how quickly fear questions my nearness. It tells you that unanswered prayers mean neglect. But I answer in ways that heal deeper than circumstance. I answer by calming what storms cannot touch. I answer by steadying your heart even when conditions remain unchanged. I see how distress narrows your focus to what threatens you. My answer widens your vision. You remember who I am and who you are within my care. Problems lose their absolute authority. They take their rightful place beneath my governance. I do not require perfect words from you. A cry, a sigh, even silence directed toward me is enough. I read what your heart cannot articulate. When you reach toward me, I respond with mercy rather than measurement. Peace does not require eloquence, it requires openness. I know how often you carry guilt into the night. Regret whispers accusations. You replay what you wish you had done differently. Yet when you call on me, I answer with grace. I do not reopen wounds to shame you. I close them so rest can come. I see how anxiety convinces you that rest must be earned, that only when everything is resolved are you allowed to sleep. But I tell you that rest is a gift, not a reward. When you trust me enough to rest, you honor the truth that I am at work even when you stop. I answer you by shifting your posture. You move from gripping to receiving, from striving to trusting, from bracing to resting. Distress loses its authority when peace takes its place. I know how difficult it is to let go of control. Control feels like safety when uncertainty looms. But control exhausts the soul. When you call on me, I answer by inviting surrender. Not surrender to fear, but surrender to care. Peace grows when effort ceases. I see how your heart scans for threats even in stillness. I answer by quieting that vigilance. You do not need to guard yourself tonight. I am attentive where you grow wary. I am present where your strength ends. I do not answer you with condemnation for your anxiety. I answer with compassion. I know the weight you carry. I know the limits of your strength. That is why I offer peace instead of pressure. I see how peace restores more than sleep. It restores trust, restores emotional balance. It restores clarity. When I answer you, the benefits extend beyond the night into the day ahead. I know how distress isolates. It makes you feel separate, misunderstood, alone. My answer reconnects you. You remember you belong. You remember you are seen. I answer you by enlarging your inner space. Where fear once crowded, peace now resides. Where tension once dominated, calm now settles. This is how I prepare you for rest. I remain attentive even after you grow quiet. My answer does not expire when your consciousness fades. Peace continues to work within you. Restoration deepens as you sleep. I know how fragile peace can feel when anxiety has been familiar for so long, yet each time you call on me and rest, peace strengthens. Your heart learns a new pattern. Distress no longer defines the night. I answer you because I am faithful, not because you are flawless. Peace flows from my character, not your performance. You do not have to earn what I freely give. I see how calling on me shifts the atmosphere within you. Darkness loses its threat. Silence loses its weight. The night becomes a place of restoration rather than rumination. I answer you by reminding your soul that you are safe enough to rest. Not because nothing could go wrong, but because I remain present regardless. Peace does not deny reality, it transcends fear. I remain with you as peace settles fully. I answer you again and again, night after night, teaching your heart that distress does not have the final word, that anxiety does not own your rest, that when you call on me, peace rises gently and remains steady as you lie down. Release control and allow restoration to unfold quietly within you. I place you in safety that cannot be measured by what you own or where you sleep. Comfort built from possessions fades quickly, but my presence remains constant. I do not offer you peace that depends on conditions. I offer you peace that rests on who I am. When night arrives and the world grows quiet, you begin to notice how fragile material security truly is. Locks, walls, routines, and resources can only reach so far. Yet I surround you completely. My presence does not weaken when lights go out. It does not diminish when silence grows. It becomes more evident. I know how easily the heart confuses comfort with security. You believe that if circumstances are arranged just right, rest will come naturally. But comfort is external, and it shifts without warning. My presence is internal, and it remains. When you trust me, you are not relying on what can be taken, broken, or lost. You are resting in what cannot be shaken. I see how the night exposes what you truly trust. When distractions fade, the heart reveals its anchors. If comfort has been your refuge, anxiety rises when it feels threatened. But when my presence is your refuge, peace remains even when surroundings change. I am not limited by environment. I do not require ideal conditions to guard your rest. I know how the mind searches for reassurance through familiarity. Familiar spaces, routines, and objects feel safe because they are known. Yet familiarity cannot protect you from what lies beyond your control. My presence reaches where familiarity cannot. I guard you not by eliminating uncertainty, but by remaining constant within it. I am nearer than any possession you rely on. I am closer than the walls around you. I am more attentive than any system designed to protect you. When you lie down, you are not alone with your thoughts. I am with you in the quiet. I do not withdraw when vigilance ends. I remain present when effort stops. I see how anxiety increases when you believe safety must be maintained by effort. You monitor, adjust, secure, and prepare, yet still feel exposed. That is because true security does not come from management. It comes from trust. When you trust my presence, the need to constantly reinforce safety begins to fade. I know how fear tells you that safety must be earned or maintained. But my presence is given, not achieved. You do not activate it through performance. You receive it through trust. When you allow yourself to rest in my nearness, peace settles more deeply than comfort ever could. I remain with you regardless of what you have or lack. Wealth cannot increase my care. Poverty cannot diminish it. I do not measure protection by status or success. My presence does not fluctuate with circumstance. That is why it brings security beyond material comfort. I see how the night invites vulnerability. You awareness softens, control loosens. This vulnerability often triggers fear, but vulnerability under my presence is not dangerous. It is safe. I watch over you without requiring your alertness. I know how easily comfort can become a false refuge. It promises peace but cannot deliver it when uncertainty appears. My presence does not promise ease, it promises stability. When you rest in me, peace is not dependent on how well life is arranged. I am attentive to the subtle fears that surface when comfort feels insufficient. Fear of loss, fear of intrusion, fear of the unknown. I do not dismiss these fears. I address them by remaining present. My presence does not argue with fear, it outlasts it. I see how security rooted in me changes your posture. I do not compete with material comfort. I surpass it. Comfort soothes temporarily. My presence stabilizes deeply. Comfort can distract you from fear. My presence removes its authority. I know how often you feel safest when surrounded by what you control. Yet control is exhausting. It demands constant attention. My presence frees you from that burden. When you trust me, you allow safety to exist without effort. I remain present in every breath you take as you rest. I do not require acknowledgement to remain. I am faithful even when you are unaware. This constancy forms the foundation of peace. I see how the heart relaxes when it recognizes reliable presence. Not presence that appears occasionally, but presence that remains. I do not come and go. I do not flicker. I am steady. I know how the mind searches for reassurance in signs, sounds, and sensations. Yet true reassurance comes from relationship. When you trust my presence, you do not need constant confirmation. Peace rests in knowing I am near. I am not threatened by your vulnerability. I welcome it. When you stop performing strength, you experience my care more clearly. Security deepens when effort ceases. I see how night strips away distractions. What remains is trust or fear. When trust rests in me, fear loses its grip. My presence fills the quiet without noise. I know how often you believe safety must be visible to be real. But my presence works quietly. You may not feel it dramatically, yet it remains effective. Peace does not always announce itself. It settles. I am with you when surroundings feel unfamiliar. When silence feels heavy. When thoughts wander. My presence anchors you. I see how trusting my presence reshapes your sense of safety over time. You no longer rely solely on conditions. You begin to carry peace within you. This peace does not disappear when environments change. I know how security rooted in me transforms sleep. Rest becomes deeper, vigilance fades. The body learns it is safe. The mind releases its grip. I remain near even when comfort is absent, even when conditions are imperfect, even when noise disrupts rest. My presence compensates for what comfort cannot provide. I see how trust grows through repetition. Each night you rest in my presence, confidence increases. Fear weakens. Peace becomes familiar. I do not leave when you are unaware. I remain when consciousness fades. My presence does not depend on attention. I know how comfort can create dependence. My presence creates freedom. When you trust me, you are not bound to maintaining conditions. You are free to rest anywhere. I see how security in me changes how you face uncertainty. You no longer panic when comfort shifts. You remain steady because your foundation is not external. I remain present in places you consider unsafe. My presence redefines them. Peace follows trust. I know how often you fear that without comfort, rest will be impossible. Yet rest flows from trust, not conditions. My presence teaches your body this truth. I see how material comfort can fail suddenly. I do not fail. That is why peace anchored in me endures. I remain attentive through the night. My presence does not waver. You are not unguarded. You are not exposed. I know how safety rooted in me restores confidence. You wake with assurance rather than anxiety. Peace extends into the day. I see how trusting my presence quiets the inner alarms. The constant scanning for threat fades. Rest becomes natural. I remain with you in the stillness. My presence fills the space where fear once lived. Security grows quietly. I know how deeply the heart longs for something reliable. I am that reliability. My presence does not shift with seasons. I see how peace rooted in me reshapes identity. You no longer define safety by what surrounds you. You define it by who is with you. I remain near as you release the need to secure everything. My presence carries what you release. I know how comfort can distract from deeper peace. My presence delivers it. I see how security in me allows you to rest without fear of interruption. Even if disturbance comes, peace remains accessible. I remain faithful through the night. My presence does not dim. Security does not weaken. I know how rest under my presence repairs more than sleep. It repairs trust. I see how the heart softens when it realizes it is not alone. My presence affirms this truth. I remain your covering beyond what comfort can offer. My presence stands where material security ends. I know how trusting my presence reshapes the night from a place of vigilance to a place of refuge. Peace settles as you recognize that safety does not come from what surrounds you but from who remains with you in the quiet as the night continues to unfold under my watchful care and steady presence without interruption.